Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I'm going to be doing another Primaris Terminator conversion. It's probably going to be the final video in this series. I've done two other videos. If you haven't watched those, if you're new here, this is your first time on my channel, I'd recommend going and checking out those videos. I'll put them in the links in the video description. But just to recap for those that are new, if you don't want to go and do that, this is the original conversion that I did, which is the top half of a Terminator, lower half of an Aggressor. You can see that he scales pretty well against regular Primaris Marines. A little bit extra bulk coming from the Terminator armor up top there, and extra height, of course, coming from the Aggressor parts. Okay, so looks better, I think, scale-wise, at least in relation to your regular Primaris Marines. Certainly, if you compare the Primaris guy now with a Legacy Terminator, you can see the Terminator gets a bit dwarfed. It's not tall enough really, and the legs and kind of abdomen or non-existent abdomen are a little bit goofy. Now, no lack of love for these guys, by the way. The original Terminators have been in my life for a long time, so lots of love for the classics, but want to move them forward into the 21st century. So that was the original conversion. I then did a much cheaper conversion because Aggressors do not come cheap, and the whole thing ends up being quite expensive with 3-man squad sizes and having to get multiple boxes. So that's your Aggressor. The cheaper conversion, the cheaper version, or much cheaper version, is using Hellblaster legs, which are different from regular Intercessor legs in the fact they have these hip plates here, which are a bit of a nod to the old style Terminators. Once again, look, scales much better. With your normal Intercessor there, not quite as tall as the Aggressor. Okay, not quite. This is the Aggressor, and you lose a little bit of height there, but you obviously save a packet by using Hellblaster legs. You end up a little bit thin in the middle. There's some trade-offs to be had with that, but I think that came out not too bad considering the cost savings. So those are the two that we've done so far. So in this video, we're going to use a Heavy Intercessor. Now, I'm loath to cut one of these guys up because actually Heavy Intercessors I love. I really like the look of them, whereas I don't really like the look of Aggressors. So I'm kind of happy to hack them up to pieces. So I'm going to be doing this with a little bit of a tear in my eye here. So the bits you'll need for this conversion, guys. You'll need Heavy Intercessor front and back torso. Okay, there we are. And you'll also need the legs, the corresponding legs. Make sure you got the right kind of component numbers, obviously, here. Okay, so basically you need the bottom bit of the Heavy Intercessor, and you'll need the total top half of a Terminator, front and back torso. Okay, you'll need the good old shoulder pauldrons. Okay, you'll need weapon arms, and you'll need the iconic helmet for the Terminator. Okay, the rule of my conversions for Terminators, Primaris Terminators that is that I don't tend to mess around with the top half of the Terminator. That kind of stays as it is because I want that iconic silhouette going on. However, of course, you can do something different if you wish. Now, all I'm going to do, as is common with the other conversions that I've done, I'm going to start off by gluing front and back torso together here. I'm going to use good old super glue because I sometimes change my mind and like to snap things off again afterwards, but I'd strongly advise using plastic glue because it will provide a much stronger, better bond. You need to give that plenty of drying time. So I'm actually going to come back to you on screen once that is nice and dry. Okay guys, I'm back, and I think we've given that enough time off screen to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and do my orky hack job on this guy now. So as in common with the other conversions that I've done, I'm going to use a hobby saw to do this next bit. You can use sharp hobby clippers if you wish as well. Ends up being a little bit messier, but you can do that. I'm going to stick to hobby saw. If you do use a saw, just obviously be very careful about your fingers here. And we're going to saw right through the chest plate at about the level of the skull in the center here. Okay, we definitely want to come above and miss the abdominal area. We want as much of this abdominal area here to be preserved. Okay, so make sure you don't cut into the abs, cut through the chest plate. So it's quite a big kind of, you know, big cuts, quite thin, especially with the Heavy Intercessor. Actually, they're quite meaty boys. They're quite deep sideways look. All right, so we're going to cut down like that. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Protect your fingers, obviously. Be careful here. I'm going to saw through. Okay, so we're back after the sawing process. So what we've done is we just chopped the top half off with this kind of cowl bit around the back of the head here. You know, you can chuck that, you can put it in your bits box or whatever, but that goes. All right, and as you can see, we've got this kind of rim, this lower rim of the chest plate still attached, and that's quite important because you want to give yourself plenty of room and plenty of material to work with here. So now what we're going to do is take some hobby clippers here, all right, and we're going to snip around here. I'll just show you what I mean here. I'll go slow and careful. So just go cautiously, all right, take off tiny little bits at a time. And what you're kind of after is building a little bit of an abdominal kind of peak at the front. And as you go to the rear of the model, you kind of go down. Okay, so you go around and down. All right, we're already starting to get the basic shape if you look from the side look. So we have a taller at the front than at the back. Okay, but we need to tidy that up a little bit more. So tiny bit by tiny bit. I think we're getting somewhere here, actually. That's starting to look kind of what I want it to look like. So we end up with a bit of a messy hack job, as always, with this. People who've seen the other videos will know what I mean, but we're kind of ending up with the same kind of shape as we've done before. Peak at the front, lower at the back there. All right. So what we're going to do now is glue the front and the back torso together on the Terminator. Okay, and we're back. So this is the you know, the kind of groin and abdominal area. Sorry about the focus there. All right, this is the top half of the Terminator. I'm now going to do a little bit of a dry fit. So we see this cup at the front of the Terminator here. This is why you kind of need extra height at the front, because, you know, it's going to be exposed. So a little bit of a dry fit. That should overlap slightly because the Terminator torso is quite large. Not looking too bad. I think that's okay. Perhaps just a little bit of tidying up. We've got a little bit of a hole at the side there, so just a little bit of extra snip I think. It gets a bit trickier as you go along. You need to do tiny little bits at a time here. Of course, this guy's slightly twisted as well, which further complicates it a little bit. And what I'm going to do as well, and this is something I haven't done on the other ones, at least on screen, but it is something you come across occasionally, is you see this little, I don't know what, socket sort of thing at the back here. If you turn it around, it hangs down partially just below kind of belt level. I don't know if that's coming through on screen, but sometimes that gets in the way a little bit. So I'm just going to snip that off a little bit. So you can see we've just gotten rid of the bottom end of that, and that just sometimes helps it sit a bit flatter. All right, you don't have to do that. You can use filler and any other method, but I don't really like getting too bogged down with things like that. I'm just going to hack it and glue it together like a true orc. But that kind of could help sort out a bit of a gap problem there. All right. I think that's just about good enough to glue now. So let's get some glue on there. Remember, guys, you can take a bit more time than me when you're doing this. You can smooth things out. You can fill things in if there's any kind of offensive gaps. You do want a little bit of overhang with the torso there because you want to kind of hide some of that rough cutting that you've done. But you only want as much overhang as is necessary, because every little bit of overhang will lose you a little bit of extra height. Okay, not looking too bad. All right, so that's the kind of conversion work done. That's the conversion work. That's the hard bit. The other bit is gluing on the legs onto the bottom part of the Heavy Intercessor here. There's no magic about that. You just do it as you're supposed to do it. within the normal limitations of the kit, and you glue the other parts of the Terminator on the arms, the pauldrons, and the head. And once again, no converting needed. So I think what I'll do, just so I don't bore you all to tears, is just glue all those different bits on. There's nothing interesting to see there really for you, and see how this guy turns out in comparison to his brothers that I've done before. Okay, so I'll come back to you on a new screen, guys, once I've done that. All right, so we're back on screen. This is what we've got at the end of it. This is the Heavy Intercessor Terminator hybrid. Okay, we've got the nice cables at the back provided by the Heavy Intercessor legs that link in with the arms there, much like we do on the Aggressor version, this one here. What we don't get is the little hip plate armored panels. All right, so just be aware of that they aren't identical, which is something I've been saying. You know, you think they are, but they're not actually. And I like the hip plate armor because it links in to the original Terminators and adds a bit of bulk around the middle. However, this is pretty damn good. What you do get is you get all the height that you need. Okay, there's no loss in height as you'd expect because it's the same kind of armor. You don't get the same abdominal area. Okay, you get a shorter abdominal plate and a belt here. What you get on the Aggressor is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing because you've got these ridges here, and you see they mirror almost exactly the cup shape that you get on the front of the armor chest piece on the Terminator. So that, I just think that's the best aesthetically that you can do. However, eye-wateringly expensive for a lot of guys. So this is your mid-range version right here. Scales really well against a regular Intercessor. All right, looks bulky, looks quite tall, really, really good. And definitely looks a lot better, I think, in comparison to the original. Look at the height gain there. Just look at that. That is significant, isn't it? All right, so there you go. That's your mid-range version. I really, really hope you enjoyed that, guys. As I said, that's probably going to be the last one I've done. Now, apologies if you've watched the other videos. Of course, there's going to be repetitive elements there because I've approached them in the same kind of way. But I was keen to do that on each video, just in case we had new guys coming in. So really appreciate your patience with that. You know, like, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching. At the time of making this video, I'm on to just over 200 subscribers. So thanks so much. I really, really appreciate the support, and I love reading all your comments. So keep them coming, and join me for a future video. Take care, guys. Cheers.